Hello, and welcome to the Gamer's Closet. I'm your host, Douglas Weed, and today we're going to be talking about Bermuda Triangle. Bermuda Triangle is a game manufactured in 1975 by Milton Bradley. The game is a nautical-themed game, which is a roll, spin, and movement game, and a item placement game. The game itself seats 2 to 4 players, runs for about a half an hour of game time, and is rated for ages 8 and up. But let's dig into it a little further, shall we?
Your course is set to faraway ports, accessible only across the forbidding lime green waters of the Bermuda Triangle and its sinister, unforgiving mystery cloud. Even the ports along the way are not safe. Can you beat the unknown? Can you save at least some of your fleet? Can you make it home with your cargo? This is the Bermuda Triangle from MB Games. For some, just a game. For others...
The Bermuda Triangle, also known as the Devil's Triangle or Hurricane Alley, is a loosely defined region in the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean where a number of aircraft and ships are said to have disappeared under most mysterious circumstances. Most reputable sources dismiss the idea that there's any mystery. The vicinity of the Bermuda Triangle is among the most heavily traveled shipping lanes in the world, with frequent ship crossings through it for ports in the Americas, Europe, and the Caribbean islands. Cruise ships and pleasure craft regularly sail through the region, and commercial and private aircraft routinely fly over it. Popular culture has attributed various disappearances to the paranormal or activity by extraterrestrial beings. Documented evidence indicates that a significant percentage of the incidents were spurious, inaccurately reported, or embellished by later authors. In this game, each player operates their own fleet of ships and sails them with their own strategy from port to port in the Bermuda Triangle area. While the player's ships are in the sea or in the port, there hovers over them a big, bad, monstrous cloud that turns and travels in all directions. Sometimes the player's ship may be caught in the path of this cloud, yet come through safely. Other times, several ships may disappear and be out of the game. The player who is able to collect the most value in freight by luck of the dice and by the use of good strategy is the winner of this game. The game was released in multiple countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, France, Germany, and Italy. Italy had illustrated cover art with a different design on the cover. The game comes with multiple pieces. It includes 16 ships, 4 of each color with red, yellow, blue, and green, 16 magnets, 1 for each ship, 32 cards, which includes 8 sugar cards, 5 oil cards, 7 lumber cards, 4 banana cards, and 8 home port bonus cards, 1 cloud movement spinner, 1 6-sided dice, the set of rules, a game board, and the Bermuda Triangle cloud. The cloud consists of 3 parts, which includes the cloud, the base, and the base rim of the unit itself, which you will have to put together. Each player is given 4 ships of one color. They place 1 in a port space of each of the ports. Depending on the number of players, ships not needed are removed from the game. Sort the cards as to products: sugar cards, oil cards, banana cards, and lumber cards. Shuffle each pile and place money side up in the back of its corresponding port. Place the home port cards in a pile in back of the port near Miami marked home port. Place the spinner, which governs the movement of the cloud, near the player who will act as the spinner for the game. High roll of the dice goes first and play continues clockwise. Each player in turn rolls the dice and moves 1 of their ships of their choice the number of spaces rolled. A space is a white shape of a ship on the paths that go from port to port. After all players have had a turn moving 1 of their ships, the spinner is spun and the cloud is rotated and moved. The cloud can be rotated slowly and moved slowly to its new position by the cloud mover. The player going first is the first cloud mover, and others take turns clockwise. Players take turns in moving the cloud each turn. It is important that at the beginning of the game and all during the game, the notched pointer on the rim of the cylinder cloud always points exactly north. Inside the cylinder of the cloud are fins. The tiny space in the center of the fins is the cloud locator. The cloud travels north, south, east, or west along a row of dots by moving the locator from dot to dot. The cloud is moved by the spin of the spinner after each player has had a turn moving one of their ships. As determined by the spinner, the cloud has two parts in each movement. The first part of movement is the rotation of the cloud on the cylinder while the notch remains pointed north. The inner circle of the spinner with the letters A through H determine the rotation, and the cloud is turned in a clockwise direction until the letter spun is turned to the notched pointer. The second part is the movement of the base cylinder and the cloud over the grid in a north, south, east, or west direction. The middle ring of the spinner tells the number of black dots on the grid the cloud locator is moved. The outside ring indicates the direction the cloud is moved. When the spinner stops on the word north, south, east, or west, it means the cloud travels along the dotted path it is on to the last dot on the grid in the direction spun. To begin the game, the locator is placed over the red circle in the center of the grid with the notched north and cloud's letter A on the notch. The cloud locator is never moved past any outside dot on the grid, even though the count on the spinner may direct it to. Please note, to prevent the cloud from tipping while moving it, hold it by the center rim rather than the outside of the cloud. A player must move one of their ships each turn if a move is possible. A player cannot move his ship under the cloud or touch a ship that is under the cloud. A player must move their ship to a space as close as possible to the cloud if that is their only possible move, and their roll of the dice would take them under the cloud. For example, if a player's only move is a ship on a path that is blocked by the cloud, assume the player rolls a 6, but 2 spaces move the ship to the edge of the cloud. They move the ship 2 spaces and then their turn ends without using their full die roll. Each port interrupts the path and counts as 1 space. A player's ship must dock at each port even though their roll could take them past. A ship's movement ends at a port and is docked. Place on one of the dotted outline ship spaces at the port. Please note, a player may not have more than 2 of their ships in any one port at any one time. A player's ship must remain on the path before reaching a port and may not move into a port that is full. A full port is determined by the number of ships in the port, regardless of whose ships are there, including their own. A full port is determined by the number of players in that game. With 2 players, 2 ships fill a port. With 3 players, 3 ships fill a port. And with 4 players, 4 ships fill a port. A player may keep 1 or 2 of their ships in a port as a blocking strategy as long as they have another move. However, they must move each turn if possible, even if it means moving towards the cloud from a port or breaking up a blocking strategy. A player passes their turn without penalty if they have no possible move. A player is allowed to move their ships past their own or an opponent's while sailing on any path. During their move, they must count the space or spaces occupied by a ship or ships that they pass. A player's ship landing by exact count on a space occupied by an opponent's ship or their own sends the ship landed on back to the previous port. The ship landed on moves back to the closest unoccupied space to the port if the port is full. The cloud may move ships from their path without capturing them. May do a couple of things. They may be pushed by the cloud cylinder, or they may be pushed by a captured ship hanging from the cloud. Ships moved from the path are placed on the nearest empty space to them as soon as the cloud has cleared the area. Each time the arrow of the spinner points towards the words north, south, east, or west, and after the cloud locator is moved to the last dot in that direction, the cloud is carefully picked up from the board. This is the only time the cloud is removed from the board surface. All ships hanging on the cloud are removed from it and are out of the game. The cloud locator is then placed on the center red circle as in the beginning of the game, and then play continues. Each time a player's ship docks at their home port, the player receives a home port bonus card. Ships landing there after the 8 bonus cards are gone receive nothing. A player whose ship returns to home port from being landed on by another ship does not receive a home port bonus card. A player takes the top product freight card from the pile in back of a port in which they dock. A player may not collect a product freight card when their ship is being returned to a port after being landed on. Once all freight cards have been taken from a port, ships landing there thereafter cannot collect freight cards. The game ends when one player collects $350,000 in any combination of product freight cards and bonus cards, or when one player has lost all of their ships, whichever occurs first. The player obtaining the $350,000 first, or the player with the highest dollar value in cards if the game ends by loss of ships, is the winner of the game. When the game ends by the latter method, it is possible for a player to be the winner even when losing all of their ships. Please note, for playing shorter games, players may decide to make the winner and the first player to obtain $200,000. This shortens the average time and gameplay. Well, this has been an overview of Bermuda Triangle. Bermuda Triangle is one of Milton Bradley's stranger games that they put out. The game itself is very well constructed. The pieces are nice to look at. The magnets are a nice touch, especially with the clouds, so that way you get this nice mystery feel when your ships disappear. It has a nice strategy edge to it because you want to figure out where you want to send your ships next, or to inflict the cloud on someone, which is the other side of that. So as a strategy game goes, I would recommend playing this game. It is pretty easy to deal with. It's not very rules heavy. If you find a copy from another language, again, it's very easy to play because the rules are the same across multiple editions. The game itself is relatively easy to find. It goes online anywhere from about $20 to $40. So as games go, it's not too expensive. But I would recommend making sure it is a complete copy, because there are a lot of copies online that you will find that are missing pieces. So if you haven't had a chance to play Bermuda Triangle, I would honestly recommend playing this game. Well, that's it from us here at the Gamer's Closet. We'd like to thank you for checking out our video on Bermuda Triangle from Milton Bradley. If there's a game in the future you would like us to review and go over, please put it in the comments below. Please hit subscribe so that way you can be the first to check out our future content. And as always, please have a great gaming day.